you talk about your lived in experience, how you had to talk to players about it and how you had the opportunity to talk to players. Nobody can be a special assistant to the commissioner and the senior vice president of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Have you not lived something like that where you didn't feel included? For those that may not know exactly your story, tell me more about that lived in experience that you shared early on in your career before you got this position.
Sure. So I made it to the big leagues. I was 21 years old. I was called up to the big leagues with the Detroit Tigers in 1987. So I played in a different era. And one of the things that I was battling during my playing career was a secret, Alanna, and that is that I am a gay man, and the idea that Major League Baseball and homosexuality would ever intersect on any level, I never thought that that would be the case. And you know, I think we all are a product of where we come from. And my upbringing, I was raised by a man who was in the Marine Corps and then became a uniformed law enforcement officer for 25 years after his military career ended. I'm the oldest of 5 boys.
Wow.
Raised Catholic. I never met a gay person before that told me that they were gay before I played my first Major League Baseball game. So I did not understand my sexual orientation or accept it. Messaging, representation, all of these words that were foreign in the late 80s. There was no image that I could relate to that was narrated or brought by a straight white male, the same that most women were subjected to as being objectified as sexual objects in television shows, in comedy routines, in movies. They weren't brought to us in the form of intelligence or game changers, or it was an acceptable set of stereotypes. So, you know, my heroes were George Brett, Paul Molitor, Tony Gwynn, you know, and I actually got to play with those people, which is incredible. And I just thought that there must be something wrong with me. And I tried to suppress that secret. And I actually, you know, I bounced around a little bit. I really struggled with self-acceptance, and I was my own worst enemy. There was nobody to talk to. At least I didn't think so. And the only value system that I had placed on myself was that if I get 2 hits in every baseball game I play in, I will have a baseball jump. And so I whittled it down to that. And I, you know, was a left-handed hitting outfielder, and did really well in the minor leagues, moved up super fast. And as soon as I got to big leagues, I sat on the bench for the first time in my life. And all of a sudden the game started to speed up on me, you know, and I was like, wow, Nolan Ryan, you know, Mark Langston, Randy Johnson, you know, guys that actually got, you know, chance to start a game against Nolan Ryan in my career, you know, just moments that were bigger than I expected. And then you know, got traded to LA Dodgers, my hometown. I got to play for Sparky Anderson and Tommy Lasorda. So there was no space for me to bring in my off the field problem. And I wasn't living a gay old life either. I was actually suppressing all of that, and got married and tried to do everything that all of my peers and heroes did. And you know, I made some really, really tough, horrible decisions to try to please everyone in the world. And when you talk, you know, you mentioned that I said the word lived experience, the walking into a big league clubhouse, knowing that I was one sentence away from being booted out of there so fast. That's what feeling like the other person feels like. And for some, as a woman, you can't change that when you walk into the room. You are a trailblazer in our sport. I have watched you for years, and you are an LA girl, and you know, you navigate around those that are problematic. And that, you know, in sports, things move quickly. You don't have time to complain about that if you want to be a part of this amazing, you know, game that we all work in. And so, you know, for me, I just started to bury and bury and bury. And then by a twist of fate, in my 5th big league season or 4th big league season, I met somebody. And I left my marriage immediately, and I thought that I was able to manage this secret and navigate around that and play in the major leagues at the same time. And it was a silly undertaking, to put it lightly. And but for some reason, once I started living truthfully at home, even though I was living deceitfully to the rest of the world, um, I never introduced this person to my family. I was roommates with Brad Osmus for 2.5 seasons. We never had a conversation about it, ever. And ironically, after the fact, these relationships really took a beating because of my inability to trust that friendship. And those were even more difficult lessons to learn. But what really ended my career very quickly was I was actually navigating and starting to contribute at the big league level. Had a pretty good season, a year and a half with the Padres, and I came home one night, and my partner had become ill before opening day of 1995 season. He was diagnosed with HIV. And that was a lot to manage. And then I came home one night and rushed him to the hospital, and he died of cardiac arrest, with symptoms brought on by his HIV status. And I walked into that hospital with the person, and I walked out with a bag of clothes in my hand, and had a 1 o'clock game that day. And it was about 7:30 a.m. in the morning, and I realized that I had never told anybody about this person. And you don't come out and then tell someone that your partner died at the same time. And so, it was a long time ago, but those scars are deep, because I did not believe that I deserved any kind of concession or consolation from loved ones. I was only valuing myself as a major league player, and I thought the minute that I let my private life into that space, that it would all go away. And ironically, that's what ended up happening. I played the rest of that year in complete secrecy, and then once, I think the interesting nature about baseball is that you can really you get into such a routine, as you both are during the regular season, responsibilities of travel and games, and the minute that stopped, I just started to really implode on myself. Mm-hmm. And I was really in a dark space, and I was certain I would never tell my father. I wrote a book about my life experience at the urging of the LGBTQ community, probably about 5 years after my career was over. And the whole story is my fear of my parents changing the way they felt about me. Mm-hmm. And so, trying to manage, my secret, the grief of my partner, and then the idea, I actually went and saw, and this is one of the reasons why I've been so connected to mental health and wellness for the players, mostly as an advocate of how it would have benefited me, is that I only saw one physician that had diagnosed my partner, and he flat out told me that I would become HIV positive within 6 to 8 months, since I had been exposed, even though I had tested negative. And so I was going to the park with that in my head as well. And it was a trifecta of drama. And for some reason, I was fortunate. I never contracted HIV, and I'm healthy and grateful for that. But it could have gone either way. It was, and by the time that season ended, I just thought it's probably better if someone like me leaves baseball. I didn't want to embarrass my team, my friends, myself. There was tremendous stereotypes attached to being gay, and the possibility that I might be HIV. I was really, really messed up. People were dying still in 1995 and 96 of HIV, And there was a tremendous stigma attached. And so I left baseball. My family was devastated. We never talked about it for probably a year or so. They couldn't understand why. And I never gave them a chance even to be there for me. And so when you talk about a lived experience, I am inspired and driven by my own mistakes to make sure that nobody that is interested in baseball is turned away because of any other reason than they are just not either prepared or committed or ready to jump into this crazy sport that we work in. I don't want anyone to say I wasn't given a fair chance. And the beauty of how the field works and players, and we see change all the time. As our sport gets better and better and better, and I am literally in awe of the players. And to see the fans in Philadelphia literally levitate the players off the field. That it was just something amazing. And so when you talk about my opportunity to reach out to players, I'm not there to tell them what they should or shouldn't do. I'm there to provide a consideration and maybe a little clarity from past experience about the opportunity to play as long as they can. And that sentence in itself brings so many things into play. They all have a chance to be an ambassador of our sport, good or bad. And the impact that they have on children or young fans, arm around a kid for a selfie, or a jersey or a bat. When you see Mike Trout or Mookie Betts hand a kid something, and they will never not be that little kid. When they're 55 years old, they're going to remember that moment, and that is powerful. And they have, so I want them to appreciate, this amazing platform that we have. We are so much better at marketing our players and bringing them closer to fans. You guys do a great job. We all lift them up. It's a hard game, and they play 200 times a year, and through hot days and cold days and travel days, and so for me, it's a lot about inspiration and trying to get them to make the most of their opportunity.